We'll be spending quite a bit of today's Titans episode on Will Levis. Do you want him as the Titans quarterback? Not for the rest of this year, that's an obvious yes, but for next year. Maybe you don't know, but how do you feel at the moment? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote in the comments. I thought overall, this past game from Levis, pretty solid. Not perfect, but better. Now, what I think I also agree with is some uncertainty about his overall future. Brian Callahan asked, hey, is he going to be your guy next year? And Callahan wouldn't declare that one either way. He said, I hesitate to make any proclamations or anything like that, but I've just been really happy with the way Will has progressed. He's played winning football from that position really over the last 3 weeks. I'd like to see it continue. I think there's another level we can get to and unlock for him. Now, in general, I don't have any issues with what Brian Callahan said. Not going to commit one way or the other, but did spin it into a positive, remark for his quarterback. And I think overall, Levis was mostly better for the Titans. And that is 3 straight weeks we've said that. I think many of you have said that. There are still things to work on. We'll discuss those. It's the sacks in particular. But overall, Levis has had better play from the Tennessee Titans. Just a 1 interception against the Houston Texans. He was pretty good stat sheet-wise. Didn't do a ton from a mobile quarterback perspective. 10 rushing yards. Thankfully, sack yardage doesn't count. 18 of 24, 278, 2 touchdowns. Had a couple big chunk plays. He's been explosive. Had some weird stats overall because of the sacks. Let's look at what the first 5 games were. Pre-shoulder injury, kind of including the shoulder injury. And since then, this is a better player. I think that's pretty obvious. The yards per attempt have skyrocketed. The passing yards in fewer games, fewer throws, has gone up. The touchdown ratio has gone up. The turnover ratio has headed back in the correct direction. I think there's plenty to like from what we've seen out of Will Levis. What is noteworthy, though, is you don't have to make a decision right now. And as Callahan pointed out, nor should you. You got 6 more games to let this all play out. See how things go. See how he grows or doesn't grow. The schedule, frankly, especially from a defensive perspective, is not that daunting. This is not some type of elite schedule that you're playing of all these great defenses. You should see a lot of good play out of Levis. And if you don't, that's probably an indication of where you need to be going from a pure, like drop back EPA or just pure EPA perspective. The Commanders' defense is below average. The Jags' defense is the worst in football in passing defense. The Bengals' defense is below average, kind of steadily below average, frankly. Commanders are 22nd. Bengals are 23rd. Jags are 32nd. The Colts are 17th. The Houston Texans, who, of course, you just beat, are actually 4th, which kind of makes it funny from that perspective, and made some nice plays happen. You should look really good down the stretch here. If you don't, it's probably your answer. So what is your confidence level in Levis right now? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know at the pin comments, especially if the ad comes here on YouTube. Now, the one big thing, I think the next level Callahan mentions, right, is you have to be better with the sacks. 18 of 24, 278, 2 scores, a bad pick 6. Cool, that's awesome. The sacks can't continue. He's taken 20 sacks in the past 3 games. It's not all the offensive line coach faults or offensive line's fault either. Here's what one unnamed coach told The Athletic about Levis. This was from an article yesterday. I don't think he's naturally instinctive. Bad things happen as a result. Look, you can't take 8 sacks in a football game. They weren't all his fault. Danielle Hunter had the tackles in a blender at times in that game. The right side of the line's been pretty poor. And sacks aren't turnovers. That is worth reminding everybody. But they are usually drive killers. Now, you do potentially miss out on some yardage, depending on where that interception is thrown. But a 3rd down pick and a 3rd down sack aren't that drastically different. They are different. The interception's worse, especially if it ends up being a pick 6. But 3rd and 5, if you take a sack, whatever, drive's over still. Now, look, the O-line has to be better. I'm not excusing that. The O-line didn't have its best stuff. Jay Latham had a pretty rough game. Danielle Hunter's an awesome football player, which is he's been incredible this season. Hunter has been. He's made everyone look bad. Thought Skoronski played well, though. The right tackle rotation's been problematic. But Levis can do more here, too. And I think that is the next step in his elevation as a player, at least one of the next steps. He is last in the NFL per PFF among qualifying QBs in pressure to sack rate, which means you get pressured, how often does that result in a sack? If you're down there around 15%, you're doing a good job. When you're up there that every third pressure is a sack, even if the quality of the pressure is really high, that's not very good. Look, the Titans with Levis, as they should, they want to hunt vertical shots, and it pays off. Chico Conquo, the big plays you're generating through the air are valuable. So sacks are kind of a natural negative that tend to emerge in that type of offense. But it's got to be better. You can't allow such or have so many sacks. There's a big difference between what Levis and Reese and Ruff's been doing. Ruff's is at like 15% or sub. I think he's at 11.7 or something. Like it's not very good. So Levis, that's an area to improve upon. And if you do start to improve upon it, the offense has potential. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Available in over 30 states, California, Florida, Georgia, Texas, and oh so many more, because that's how math works. They are also the only place to get an injury insurance policy. Player goes down the first half, doesn't return. Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Now, for whatever you want to do this week for Titans games or just Thanksgiving games, make sure you're taking advantage of the free square from Prize Picks. Tyreek Hill, 1 yard equals a win on your Prize Picks slate. It's a no-brainer. Lock your stuff in right now. Maybe you want to go back to the Nick Westbrook-Akeem touchdown. Well, that's fine too. But make sure you're pairing it and others with Tyreek Hill half receiving yard more than. Download the app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Now, I do want to acknowledge the elephant of those of you who would like to tank and lose games. I get it. Understandable. I totally get where you guys are coming from. It's November. You have the playoff hunt. You can help your draft stock. Especially if you want a new quarterback, you'd rather be ahead of teams like the Giants, like the Raiders. That did not happen. The win by Tennessee has dropped them down to the number 6 spot in the draft order. Because of tiebreakers, you'd be second, maybe third, but second really, with the loss. So you would have been ahead of the Giants, ahead of the Raiders, and you'd be at the top of the pecking order for Shadur Sanders, Cam Ward, whatever. So make no mistake, that is a notable drop. And big picture-wise, that stuff does matter. However, you are also in the middle of a new regime. And you can't have an we only lose culture. You do want to build some confidence, build some faith, build some trust, build some positive results with wins. You kind of need them. Because what you also don't want to have the conversation of is, hey, we won 2 games. Do we need to fire our head coach? It's a tricky balancing act you're juggling there. Let things play out. As I mentioned, your schedule's not very challenging. So you might win some more games. We'll just see what happens at the end of the year. And we'll be here at the end of the year for you. Hit that sub button for more free Titans YouTube videos. YouTube.com/Titans today. Don't miss out. Subscribe right now. Let's go to Chidobe Awuzie. The Titans are finally getting him back, and soon. He has been designated to return from injured reserve. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to play this week. That might come later on, whatever. Maybe it's in 2 weeks. We'll see. But it is progress for, frankly, a very good Titans defense that has found ways to win games without their 2 best corners. Jarvis Brownlee's emerged. Roger McCreary's played well. So the Titans, once they're all healthy, you're going to have some nice quarterback depth overall. Darrell Baker's made some plays for you, but you do want to get the veteran back out there. It'll be a positive thing, even though he might be in the cap casualty conversation. We'll get to that one down the road. But he's been targeted 3 times all year. only played 3 games, of course, allowed 1 catch. Either way, you want to have some veteran leaders back out there for the at least home stretch. Now, if you have made it to the end of the video, thank you. You're a real one. I want you guys to show it by spamming Titans in the comments section.